Hi there. If you've ever looked at your QA setup and thought to yourself, changing this now would be really difficult, or it might be a case of you're thinking, I'm not sure I completely trust what this data is telling me. Well, to be frank, you're not alone. I'm Chris Mounds from Evaluation, and in this video, I'm going to walk through the foundations that make an auto QA program work properly. It's the early decisions that shape everything else. Now, I'm not talking about settings just for the sake of settings. It's just a small number of structural choices that determine what you can see, what you can trust, and what becomes possible later on. We're going to cover four foundations: structure and custom reporting groups, evaluation modes, customer experience labels, and employee contact filters. Then I'll show you how they come together in dashboards and reports. So the structure is usually the least exciting foundation, but it is the one that people feel the pain most when it's wrong. Now, this is where we can build in our different teams, departments, sites, functions, etc. So it's where visibility and comparison are defined, because this is what determines who can see what in reports and how you can compare teams together and whether reporting actually reflects reality or just hierarchy. Now, in all of the reports available in the platform, this is a KPI report that we're looking at as an example. That hierarchy is built into all of the reports where you can navigate through those different departments, teams, however you've built your organizational structure. Now, in my experience, when your structure lines up with how your teams actually operate, the reporting aspect tends to feel a bit more intuitive. Now, having an organizational structure is all well and good, but most organizations develop reporting needs that don't fit neatly into a single organizational chart. So that's where custom reporting groups comes in. Now, these give you the flexibility without breaking that underlying structure. And they're really useful for things like cross-functional teams. So let me just edit this view here, where I can select various agents across the organizational structure and group that into an individual reporting group. So really good for cross-functional teams, project groups, temporary initiatives, anything like that. The other aspect, this is a manually defined custom group, but these smart groups work slightly different in that they use a criteria that you set up to add agents into these groups. So in this example, we're looking for people that have an employment start date within the last 30 days. Again, a really good use case for this is if you have a training cohort and an academy group, these guys can be grouped dynamically into a custom reporting group. Now, in terms of accessing these, coming back to the KPI report, you can access custom reporting groups in the same way across all of the reports. But right now, we are in the hierarchical view. We can drop this down here and we can access the custom reporting view from here. So those custom reporting groups that we just saw, they will then be available to us as a reporting element in the report. So the key principle here is that these exist alongside your main structure. It's not instead of it. So they let you answer those reporting questions without forcing your organizational structure to change. So therefore, we can see all of those agents in there. Now, one of the other things that you can do with these custom reporting groups is determine who gets access to that. So as well as determining which user gets access to the different elements of your structure, you can do exactly the same with your custom reporting groups. So next, it's evaluation modes. Now, the evaluation modes, these are really about intent. and they exist as a dedicated filter in your reports. Now, again, I'm using the KPI report as an example, but these essentially let you separate the different kinds of quality work that you do, things that count towards official performance and those that exist to support that. So if I want to focus on a particular type of evaluation, I can simply apply that as a filter in my reports, and I can see the relevant results. It allows me to really drill down into that performance data. Now, to find these, we can go to our quality settings, and under our labels, as we drop down here, we can see our evaluation modes in here. So we simply just type in the mode that we want to add in, hit add mode, and that will drop in at the bottom. Now, if we wanted to take any of these away, we can just toggle these on or off depending on what we want. We can't delete them, we can only deactivate them. And that's so that we can protect the integrity of our reports. Now, the evaluation modes are really important because most reporting confusion comes from mixing intents that were never meant to sit side by side. Now, once you've clearly separated that intent, the reporting becomes much easier to interpret because we're no longer comparing things that were never really designed to be compared. So we have covered visibility and flexibility through structure and reporting groups, and clarity of intent through evaluation modes. Okay, so let's move on to customer experience labels. Now, the customer experience labels are about how you frame customer experiences and journeys. Now, here we're in the customer experience performance report, and using CX labels gives you a way to name and group related contacts into a single customer experience. So things like, claims handling as an example, policy renewal, new product purchase. Each one of these labels represents an end-to-end experience that can be made up of multiple interactions. Now, what we're looking at here is the results of all of those evaluations that have been done as part of a journey. Now, if I come to CX cases to evaluate, we can see a list of, well, all of those journeys that's been evaluated. Now, if I come into this little guy here and view that, this will show me the outcome of that journey. That's what's been determined by the evaluator. I can see the status is closed, but I can see all of the evaluations that make up this journey. Now, I can also track the sentiment of that journey as well as it's went on, and I can see the XNPS result, and I can literally see how that's declined as we went through that customer journey. Now, to add in your customer experience labels, we're going to go back to quality settings, and inside our labels and come all the way down to the bottom, and we can see those CX labels here for us. And we add those in exactly the same way as we've added in those evaluation modes. Now, without CX labels and CX cases, the reporting stays interaction based, but with them, you can report on the performance of those customer experiences, which is fundamentally different from scoring isolated calls. So you're no longer evaluating interactions in isolation, we're evaluating them in the context of that experience. So next is the filters and the imported contacts table. Now, imported contacts is a repository of all of the conversations that are happening in your contact center. We can apply filters to these conversations, and any filters that we save are available on the left-hand side here. Now, the filters are one of those foundations that can become very messy over time, but they actually play a huge role in how quality work feels day to day, because these filters help you surface the right conversations for the work that you're doing. instead of just scanning everything. Now, in this case, we are filtering by a piece of metadata, so the channel name, and it's being equal to chat. So it's showing us all of those conversations that fall under that criteria. Now, you can keep your filters very simple, like in this case, but we can actually build it up using the and or logic options. So let's say we're looking to find our chat conversations. We'll use the and option, and let's bring in some evaluation results. So all of those results for the general quality evaluation scorecard, and the outcome is a fail. So we can see all of those conversations. I've then filtered some more based in that criteria. And the important part here isn't how clever the filter is. It's that you can reliably return to the same kinds of conversations time and time again. So that's naturally going to save time. Now, what's especially powerful here is that you can make these save filters available in your reporting. Because when a filter that you're using to organize your work is also available in reports, you're analyzing the same set of conversations that you've been evaluating. So back in the KPI report, again, I'm using this as an example, but I can come to the show more option in the filters, and our integration filters show in here. So any filter that I've made available in reporting is then here for me to simply select. So let's say I wanted to focus specifically on complaints. I can easily find all of those conversations and all of that quality data that relates to those conversation types. So whether it's visibility through your structure or flexibility with those custom reporting groups, these foundations are all doing the same thing. They're reducing friction and they make quality work flow. Now let's make the idea of this insight tangible. Now coming back to the SmartView dashboards, now this is the first screen that you see when you log in. Now what matters here is not the widgets of the layout. These are custom views, but it's what these views are built on. Now, the smart views are driven by those foundational elements. So whether it's the operational structure, so that's bringing in all of your teams and departments and your agents, so you can apply filtering at any one of those levels. But as we come all the way down to the bottom, those custom reporting groups are there for us as well. Now, additionally, we can also utilize those evaluation modes, those scorecards as well as filters. So these are letting you see quality performance by the right teams and the right type of work rather than having everything blended together. And that's what keeps performance reporting accurate and easier to act on. Now, the other foundations that we covered, like the CX labels and the imported contacts filters, those are available in the dedicated reports. That's where they come into play. That's where you can slice quality by experience, by journey, or by a very specific subset of conversations. And that's the key point. Insight doesn't come from having more dashboards. It comes from foundations that lets you slice and analyze quality consistently across different reporting contexts. When structure, intent, experience framing, and focus are all aligned, quality data becomes something that you can actually reason with. You can trust what you're seeing, you can compare fairly, and you can focus improvement work without constantly having to explain the numbers. Now, granted, these foundations aren't the most exciting part of automated QA, but they are the part that makes it work well.